Yeah, hello. This video is going to have 40 or 50 different sniping positions that you can use in Frontline. They're not going to be the same positions as in my previous videos. This is an example of one of them. Enjoy. This is Cap A, and it's going to be one position. It's where the defender is. I've seen a lot of tanks play in this position. This is the cap. This is the south. The north is towards the bottom of the screen. And the thing that's important about this position is that I've seen people play it extremely well. And it's basically right here where these rocks are. I've seen tanks come over here and park here for a long time, for many minutes, without being killed. So it's a very powerful position, and they can do a lot of damage. It's really not necessary to play here, but if you've got a well-armored tank, I highly recommend you give this a shot. I'm going to show you another position, which is right here. This is me. And basically what was happening is that I was trying to block the cap using engineering, and I wanted to see if there was a way I could fit into this little gap over here to see if I could block the cap, and unfortunately I died before I was able to successfully test it. But I also wanted to add that. This is Cap B, and this is on the defending team. When you are defending, you can look on the mini-map. There's a hill over here. Doesn't have any bushes, but it's got some rocks. And this is one of the positions that I tried. I don't like this position, and I don't recommend it. There's only a small gap that you can shoot through. The good thing is that for many of the other positions, you cannot shoot past this building or this building. So there, even though there's a small gap, there's tanks that will try to hide behind here that you can't hit otherwise. I tried this position. Look at where it is on the mini-map. This is close to, this is the access way that, here's the building that I was just talking about. Tanks will try to run across here. I thought, this is pretty much a great position. You've got a lot of flexibility. If you want to go out and hit tanks, you don't have to wait for them. You can drive out here, go hit some tanks and come back. However, I don't think this is a good position. This is a better position. Where I was just talking about is where I'm pointing with the mouse on screen. This is another position where it's got a bushes. The first position I was showing you is a hill over here on the right. Over here, you've got a little bit of a better view than the position I just showed you. You cannot hit through that long building. You got coverage of the cap. This is a zoomed in view. You can see you can hit the tanks that cross over. You cannot hit the tanks that come around the corner of this hill until they get through this gap. Instead of having that little tiny gap, you got a little bit of a wider gap here. But the problem is that once they pass, they're going to sit behind these buildings. You won't be able to do anything. This is off in the distance. You got shots on some of the tanks. If they try to rush in, you'll be able to defend Cap B. This shows how the building is blocking a tank. I can't hit it. I'm unable to do anything from here. The other thing is it's a very easy slope to go down. The repair facility is right off screen over here. So all you got to do is go down this nice slope and you can repair. You're not going to take much damage from that position. Now the reason why I'm showing this is that if you want to get to Cap B, you don't have to go around the hill. You can really just go over this hill to make it to Cap B. Now this is when you are, I'm sorry, I was talking about defending Cap B, but I meant being on the attacking team. So this is the defending team, and there's two trees over here. There's a tree here and one behind the mini-map. And what I would do is knock the tree down and look for these guys. But what you can do is get behind this rock and you've pretty much got similar shots, and you can shoot at the cap. And you can go around the cap and reset a lot quicker. This is the tree I was talking about that you can knock down. I was just over here on the left, and now I switched over here to the right. You can see you've got good shots on the cap from this location. You can see who's approaching the cap. You can advance. You can see I'm advancing here to go after these tanks. It's pretty safe. We control the cap. I'm sorry, the enemy does not control the cap area, so I can safely advance here. And you can see this is me zooming in on the structure to get a view so that if he tries to cross over here, I'll be able to hit him. I'm only showing this because I want you to see how many allies I have in this sector. There's like 20 allies. There's just way too many allies. It's not necessary to cap. You don't want to cap with 20 people. You want to cap with the least number of people as possible. And the way you do that is you get the enemy to withdraw from the cap. And then you go in with like 5 people against 5 enemies. You want your allies to be working on more important things like shooting objectives. This is sniping. You're on the defending team. Coverage of the cap. You want to be as far away as possible so you don't get spotted. This is an UDIS. The UDIS needs to hide. I knocked the tree down. I tried knocking this tree down. This is a rock you can hide behind, and a lot of people come behind this rock over here. Unfortunately, this is not a good position, and I do not recommend it for an UDIS because you have slow reaction time and a slow speed, slow getaway. And basically, I was destroyed easily. I got spotted easily, and I was quickly destroyed. So I only recommend this if you have fast reaction time. Okay, so this is Cap C. I was here resupplying, and there was this T44 Mod 1 that came around. Over here, I don't know if I got a good view. Okay, so over here, I have a view. They come around this corner, and it's at the resupply point. And the point that I'm making is, if you're playing that T44 Mod 1, a lot of people are focused on flanking, but you can also snipe back at the resupply circle. So a lot of low hit point tanks are going to be coming in this area. So if you're playing where this T44 Mod 1 is, it's actually a good position for getting some cheap shots on enemy tanks. This is a very interesting position. I never see anybody play this position. Let's see if I got a better view. Look at where I am on the minimap, and I'm on the defending team. This is the red line. I cannot cross this line. There's rocks over here to protect me, and I cleared out the ridge over here with my ally, and look at the shots I got on the enemy. You know, they can't do anything. They're completely helpless. They're out there in the open, and I've got nice shots on them. And not only that, but they've got to turn their guns more towards the back in order to fire at me, which they're unlikely to do. Their guns are more likely to be pointing towards the front of the tank, or this is probably pointing at my ally. So this is a really good position. Now here we have on the east ridge, a little bit low, you can see that what I did was I'm on the attacking team, and there's this little dip over here with a circle that's very easy to see. There's no bushes. Normally people don't go past this part here on the left, but I went a little further, even though there's an enemy tank right next to me, and you can see that I had nice shots on the enemy. So if we control the east ridge, I go really far so I can nail these tanks. These tanks are trying to defend, and I'm preventing them from defending. This is Cap C. The point that I want to make is that it's very good to sit here where all these dead tanks are. And the reason why is because you cannot be hit by snipers on the ridge. You can only be attacked by tanks that come up from here on the left, and you can just point your frontal armor at them. And the tanks that come up over here, you could still kind of point your frontal armor at them. So this is a really good position, but you got to have the will to go there. If you go over here, these tanks will come around and shoot at you, and plus you have to worry about snipers on the ridge. This is in a position that's right here. I usually knock this tree down, and you can see that even though we don't have attackers here, I'm sorry, we don't have the defensive team here, but you can see that if they show up over here, I'm going to be able to shoot at them. The only problem is I do not have a high penetration gun, and I have no APCR rounds. So you need to have a high pen gun or a derp gun that does a lot of damage in order to play this position well. And this is me after I knock the tree down. And once you do that, you're not going to get spotted unless it's recon. And you can get hull down over here in the same position. Over here, I'm playing on the East Ridge. I just wanted to show you there's a raised portion over here. I didn't really find any benefit to it. This is that same position I was showing you before. I don't think there's anything relevant to that photo. But as you can see, there's a gap over here. So not only can you cover the cap off in the distance, which is here, but you can offer some help on the ridge over here, and you can relocate easily to cover that ridge. This is on the ridge. Often what I do is I go here where the bat chat is, and I use that to snipe at these tanks. It's not perfect, but if you go further into that dip that I showed you at the beginning, you'll get nicer shots. This is an example of what I'm seeing from the location that I'm at. This is on the approach. These guys are not coming around that corner, so I can hit them on that side armor, but you can't hit them on the lower hull. And here's an example. Looks like a T-28. He's very vulnerable to me, and I'll be able to do a lot of damage against him, especially with my autoloader. This is a position defending on Cap C. I don't think there's anything really special about this position. I tried it. Yeah, if you're lucky, you could do some damage, but you're going to be pinned down a lot. And I don't think you're going to be really happy here unless you have strong armor. And maybe if you plan to assault the cap, you can hit the guys up on this ridge. You can hit people over here in the distance and people on the east ridge. But like I said, I'm not 100% happy. They have ways to easily hide from you. If you got the right opportunity and nobody knows you're here, maybe you'll have some luck. This is again on the east ridge. I was telling you about where that bat chat was. This is the position that I'm talking about. This is the view of C. You want to get behind the flank on C. Unfortunately, I died and I wasn't able to get a good view. It's not easy. There's kind of a line to shoot those tanks. And maybe this is kind of what you see, but the problem is you've got this structure here, this ridge, this is a slope. You can't really get a clear shot on all these enemy tanks over here. So trying to get behind and into this flank and hiding in the back along the red line, I don't think is really going to work. Maybe in a very lucky game you might get something, but you know, I tried it and it didn't work. Look at the mini map, see where I was, and you'll see what I mean. This is Frontline Cap D. This is a position that's obviously on the west side, and if your allies are spotting for you, this is a great position. If the enemy tries to enter the middle of the field, you're going to have open shots on all sorts of slow-moving tanks that are far from cover. So this is a position that I look for when I withdraw into D. You can see here that there's this little slope. There's a lot of slopes on this side. And you can sit there on this slope and you're pretty safe. If you get spotted, you just got to roll back a little bit. These are identical positions. It's exactly the same place. You'll notice on the mini map when I switch between the two that it's the same position. This position is further back, and there's a couple of different ways to play it. You could play it where I am. You could go towards the bottom of the screen. You could go closer towards decap. You know what? There's an image missing. Maybe we're going to see it later. But I wanted to show you how I actually am doing damage on the AMX CDA, who is on the cap. I had a shot of him on the cap. I screwed it up somehow. So you can hit tanks that are on the cap. You don't have complete cap coverage, but this is a very sneaky spot because what happens here is that tanks are going to be going on the other side of this rock heading towards that cap, and you're in a very safe position. You can get some shots in. So this is good if you really don't want to get spotted. If you got a high pen gun, weak armor, this is a position you want to try. It's not the greatest position. It's very difficult to snipe here, but there are advantages to it. This is that little island in the center, and if you knock the trees down, you can sit here, you can do some good spotting, and you can do some sniping. I believe that what I'm doing here is just spotting. It's very difficult. Here's another view. Sometimes I can definitely spot here, unless you get a recon flight overhead. So if there's a recon flight, you got to be prepared to run. In terms of sniping, I'm having mixed results. I often do get spotted sniping over here. I try, and obviously this is not where you want to snipe from. I knock the tree down. I try and stay in the back, try to stay surrounded. Maybe because of the slope of the terrain, it's just not that easy, but I have had success. So don't completely give up. But it's going to be a little tricky. Maybe if you go to where the 5.9 is, you're less likely to get spotted. The other good thing is if you go to the other side of the rock, you can easily snipe the cap. You got open shots on that cap. Obviously, this is a position. Okay, here's the one with the AMX CDA. I told you that I was missing the image. You can see that I'm quite far away, but I've got open shots on that AMX CDA. Oh, you know what? Okay, here's what happened. We've got 2 screenshots that have been repeated. So this is a repetition of the other one. Now this is again at the island, and you can see my view of the cap. What is weird about this is that there was a tank. I'm going to go back to here. There was an Emil that literally drove across here, and I measured his distance. I know he was at least 51 meters. It's possible that it said that he got down to 50 meters, which is the proximity spotting range, and he drove right by me and he did not spot me. And it's in the chat. I mentioned in the chat that the Emil drove by. I put 51 meters because I really didn't remember because it all happened so fast. I believe that's actually the Emil there on the cap right now, unless there's another one in the game. So you can hide there. It is difficult. This is an example of me sniping onto the cap from that location on that little island. And I'm going to assume that I wasn't spotted, but like I said, it was very risky. I do have the camo net. I've got like 5 skills at the 80% level. I've got BIA and camo, and vents. I've got everything that you need except for the food consumable. And I do get spotted sometimes in these risky positions. Here's Cap D. The point that I want to show you is that there's this road over here with these rocks. And when you enter in here, if you have engineering, getting on the cap blocks capping. If you don't, you come out here and you fire, everybody shoots back at you. So what you can do is you can come over here, fire, come up over here and get behind this rock. So you can still see what's going on. You've got 2 choices for how to continue after the enemy, and you can get a little hull down and take shots. So try playing up here when you're defending that cap. Here's a view from the other side so you can see how big that hill is. And here's another view so you can see it's not wide open over here, and I do have trouble. If you try to drive up here with the ELC even 90, you're gonna have problems, and like I said, I know because I've actually tried it. Over here you'll have no problem, but you come down this way and the ELC will do something funky when it touches that rock, like either slow down or spin the tank or whatever. Here's obviously me trying to show a position, trying to be within the bushes with my gun sniping off in the distance. Okay, now at the supply area, look at where I am on the mini-map. There's a little hill with some bushes. There might be a rock on one side and a rock on the other side. And this is one of the fallback positions that I use. I fall back to here so I can spot what's going on. My allies, you can see on the mini-map, like the T-44FL, they're going to snipe at those tanks that are coming into the resupply. You've got close range shots. If you get spotted, you just roll down this hill. The enemy is usually slow to approach to come around. Obviously, a fast light tank is going to come around quickly. If you look at the mini-map, there's a small distance you travel, and then you go up a hill and there's a wall, and then you hit these buildings. So it's a short distance to run away. If you play where the T-44FL is and someone chases after you, they're going to chase after you for a long time. Over here, you have a chance to lose them by going through the buildings. So to run away, this is a better position. For spotting, it could be seen as a better position, etc. This is showing a close-up view from the same position of the resupply area. Your allies might not, my allies like the T-44FL might not be able to hit this side of the cap. However, tanks like that T-92, if he got into a better position, he might be able to hit it. And we're back at the beginning, so let's move on. Okay, this is one of those very obscure positions that I discovered. If you're playing on F, look at where I am on the mini map. You go through first of all, you do this when you're retreating from C. You go through the hills and mountains and you come to this position, which is right here. This enemy tank can't spot me. I don't know if I'm spotted because my commander died. But you've got bushes over here. You got a little place where you can hide. You might be able to, actually, I did run away. I did run down this little hill to run away. And what's cool is you can ambush these guys. You can take shots at them. You can spot them. They're out of the spotting range of this Bat Chat sniper, but you can spot them from right here. This is also a spotting position. You could take a cheap shot on their side armor, especially with a high damage gun. And obviously an autoloader has an advantage. The other reason why is because I've got shots across the enemy side. Like if you notice that the enemy is taking up these positions, look on the mini map. If they're trying to snipe into Cap E and they take up these positions, I do it all the time. Occasionally I see enemy tanks over here. You can help your team take shots at those tanks. So this is a position you really want to consider learning because it's going to have some advantages. So now this is another position. I'm showing it to you right now. This is the UDIS. The UDIS has an incredibly high amount of penetration. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for positions where the UDIS is best to be played. You have to have a clear shot on the enemy. You have to be far enough away that you're not going to get spotted. You have to be able to run. You need time to be able to run. And I'm showing that there are clear shots over here. You do have to wait for the enemy to cross. You will be able to spot them if they cross here. You're only going to get a short period of time to shoot at them. However, I'm just going to end up by saying that I'm not happy with this position for the UDIS, but if you're playing a heavy tank like this tank next to me, you might want to park here and keep an eye on what's going on. And I'll continue to find UDIS sniping spots in the future. Now, when I cap, I like to cap behind this wall with a small tank because I don't get spotted. But the reason why I'm showing this is just because I wanted to show we had a lot of tanks on the cap and the use of the fog. Over here, you can see there's a lot of enemy tanks capping. I don't know why I included this. Oh, the reason why I did, look at the minimap. Look at how many tanks we have. There's no reason to have 15 or 20 tanks to go cap when there's few defenders. That means that there's something wrong with what your team is doing. These guys, D is already open. They should be going after the objectives. I've been playing this game for a long time. If you cap D and then everybody goes for E, it's a losing strategy because it takes 3 or 4 minutes for all these tanks to cap E, and you only get a 2-minute extension. And teams where everybody is focused on capping run out of time and lose the game and don't damage the objectives. So don't do it. You don't have to cap with 20 tanks. You don't have to cap 20 versus 20. Let your allies go for the objectives, or go for the objectives. The enemy will withdraw from the caps and then cap 5 versus 5 or 7 versus 7. Much better strategy. Okay, so over here we've got E coming in across the bridge into town, and what I'm doing is I'm spotting the resupply area. All the enemy tanks are going to go to the resupply area. They're going to drive on the other side of these buildings. It allows my snipers like the Centurion to take shots at these tanks. The problem is one of these tanks, which I believe is an AMX 5100, he did not go through these buildings. He came directly towards me, so I had to hightail it out of here. the AMX 5100. You can see I got spotting damage on him, perhaps 2 other tanks. And there's a lot of trees. There's like 20 trees in this area. It's all trees. I think you can see on the mini map, it's just 2 or 3 rows of trees. So you've got lots of places that you can knock them down. I'm going to continue to look at other locations where you can knock a tree down, spot, and snipe. So for a future, watch out for those positions, or look on your own, see if you find a good position. Okay, now playing light tanks is always difficult. You want to hit enemy tanks on the side, and if you're playing on F, the enemy approaches along the rail. They actually approach where you see this FV 4202 in the Pershing. You can just go across the river and you can spot them or snipe at them as they come across. And I set up so that I would snipe at them, but I don't have any allies spotting them. So the enemy started coming in my direction, which meant that I was probably spotting them. Yeah, it looks like I'm spotting the FV 4202, but I'm just showing that if you've got spotters, you can see I have no team over here. If you do have spotters up on this ridge or this ridge, this is where the bridge is and the underpass, then you can sit over here and snipe at tanks that are getting really aggressive. And there's probably another position where you can hit a little bit deeper, but you might want to consider that position. What I believe I'm showing here is that there's a rock over here, and because of the slope, you can actually approach this rock and use it to shoot in the cap area. I don't know what I was doing. Obviously, I didn't go to the rock, but that's probably the idea. What I do here is I knock this tree down. You can see that my ally is retreating. And we've got enemy bombardment in 30 seconds. The enemy is going to roll up across this area over here. So I knock the tree down so I can spot them in their approach. You can obviously snipe from here. You can get reconned. So you got to be careful. It's easy to run away. Here's another view. Unfortunately, they did drop smoke. So I wasn't really able to spot anybody crossing over. But they're going to cross over here in this distance. And maybe you'll get some of the tips of the tanks, the taller tanks on the other side of the rail. When I cap on F, sometimes I go to where this house is because nobody expects you to be there. Look at where I am on the F cap. And when they drop artillery, they just won't drop it over here. And it's actually somewhat of a safe place. It's not perfect, but it does have some advantages. Nothing special about that. Okay, this is an interesting position. Look at where I am on the mini-map. Notice that I can see the resupply area. I don't have a really good view. However, you'll notice that on the resupply area is a Carnarvon Action X, which I did damage to from this position. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's something you might want to try. Where the WZ is, he's probably a little bit too far back. You got to be a little bit more down here, and if you go too far forward, you might not be able to hit over the rail. So this is one of those positions you might want to consider. If you like to play on the east side, go here, wait for the enemy to show up at the resupply, take some cheap shots, and then go to your next position on the east side. When I go to objective 2 is the easiest objective. I usually go to this position. I just drive in. You can go at high speed. You can hit the building. It won't damage you. And then look at the shot that you got on that objective. You know, you're right there. And the enemy literally has to come down here in order to hit you. They're not going to be waiting here. This Udis is going to have to... obviously, he needs to do his siege mode and all that. But this is one of the best positions to go after objective 2. This is objective 4. You come through this little gap. You sit over here. You shoot at objective 4. You're going to find a lot of autoloaders over here. I happen to be an autoloader. This is with a different tank also going after objective 4. Over here you can clearly see it. In this case, I believe it's been destroyed. It says I destroyed objective 4 from this position. You do have to be careful because obviously enemy tanks will come over here and they'll block you in. And sometimes there'll be more than one ally trying to sit here. This is what it looks like after it's been destroyed. Now this is objective 2. You can see that it's behind me on the mini-map. I'm not in the sniping position. It's that Panther 2 who's up here behind this building. He's at the sniping position. He was in this gap. Look at where he is on the mini-map. He was in this gap shooting at objective 2. So you can hit objective 2 from this position. And then all of my allies had to go run after him. And I set up my gun so that I could damage him if he tried to come out. So be aware of that. If you go for objective 3 and objective 2 hasn't been destroyed yet, just go to that spot on the minimap and start shooting at objective 2. I will advise that if you get spotted, tanks are going to shoot at you. This is just showing a position. I've showed this in other videos, other parts of the hill, but what I didn't show is how you can hit the part that goes into E. So I wanted to show you that it is possible to hit the tanks that are a little bit on the E side. And that's where I'm located. The reason why I did this is just because I accidentally went up onto the train and I wanted to show you that I could shoot at that the KV-4. I hit him twice from this position. Now, the reason why I'm showing this particular view is we've got these two tanks over here, the LT-432 and something else. I can't tell what it is. I thought that I had seen them shooting at objective 5, but I'm not sure. And as I was lining up the camera to see what was going on, their guns were definitely pointed somewhere else. It's possible you can come over here and shoot at objective 5. I really don't know. You'll have to investigate on your own. This is objective 1. Now, the reason why I'm showing this screen grab is because I saw someone off in the distance who was never spotted shooting and damaging objective 1 from way over here, and I don't know who did it. It had to have been the Progetto 46 or the Lynx. There's no other tank that it could have been. But somebody out there hit this, damaged it. Maybe it was with a high explosive round, which would do a little bit of damage. I believe it did around 100 damage. I'm really not sure. So now you know that there's a way to do it. I will explore it. I will explore it and I'll find that position. I'll report back to you in a future video. Now over here is along the red line. You knock the tree down. You shoot at objective 5. You can see how I'm aimed at objective 5. You might have to use APCR. You can do it with regular rounds on this tank, but you're going to have a less than 50% penetration. And sometimes I just get annoyed. You know, I think it's because there were a lot of enemy tanks in the area, and I hate getting spotted over here. But that's the view. You got clear shots on objective 5. This enemy tank, they finished off objective 5. Instead of heading towards objective 4, he came up here on this hill. I thought I saw him hit objective 4. I'm not sure if he did. It's hull down. You got a bunch of trees. You're in an elevated position. I know that as I was watching him, he was shooting at the tanks at objective 4. We're going to have to investigate this position more to see what the view is like. When I go to objective 1, I go through this open area between these buildings. I line up over here and I shoot at objective 1. It's the absolute easiest way to do it. The only tanks will be able to hit you are the ones that are in line with the T-69, either where the T-69 is or directly behind them. Otherwise, you're completely safe. The only other way they can get you is if they physically come down here and get you. The problem is you got these trucks that are in the way, and between these two buildings, there is an object that you will drive over that could flip your tank, so you got to be careful. This is shooting at objective 5. Look at the mini-map where I am. I have a Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger. I hit it twice. I did 178 damage with high explosive rounds. That's why I use the HE rounds. and I damaged it, and I could sit here all day until I destroy that thing, even though of course I only got 6 rounds. Now I have a tank which is a Scorpion G, which I load up with high pen rounds and with high explosive rounds just to do this type of distance sniping from the front. But I haven't really used it very much, but I'm going to show it to you more in the future as we continue playing. Notice I got 9,694 damage in this game. This is the position. I am a little bit out in the open, but we cover this area. So you can see you can hit objective 5 from this position. You might want to try getting closer to this rock for safety purposes. This is one of my favorite positions in the game. It's for objective 5. Got over 10,000 damage in this game. It's basically where these 3 trees are. You got a rock over here to block you. You go up to here where these trees are and you shoot across. You can stay low on the hill. Now I go high on the hill. This is a defensive position. Like I said, I've been looking for positions for the UDAS, and I've been trying just up here out in the open, and I'm not liking what I'm finding. I don't recommend it. I get killed easily. I use the camo nets. This is another view. Here's another view. I really don't recommend it up here. But like I said, this is a position I'll keep on trying, and I'll report back to you if I figure out a way to do it. For objective 3, you got all these tanks over here, and you can see the Progetto at the bottom of the hill. He can hit this objective 3. We're going to show you more on that later. Oh, the other thing I want to add is that there's some sort of a road in the back here that zigzags up. There's 3 ways to get up here, not 2. If you take that zigzag road up, you might surprise a lot of people. So this is objective 3. I've shown this in one of my previous videos. Look at where I am on the mini map. This is the actual location. There's a couple buildings. I've shown these buildings for sniping up the road towards into the city. As you can see, you can hit objective 3. You're well defended if you get spotted. With the HE rounds, you can see I did 153 damage on that side. I got a 16-second reload. I got close to this with a Rheinmetall Borsig, and I did like 800 damage at close range. So it is possible to do it. The issue I think I had in this particular game is that there was a Scorpion up here on the hill who was able to hit me, but I'm not sure if it was from this exact position. But I remember that happening in one of the games. So here's another view. Yeah, this is probably it. You see I got hit by a Scorpion G for 522. This is again along the red line. Not in the same position where I knocked the trees down. You can see I'm just out in the open. I got to use the APCR rounds. It's 463 meters. But you can just sit here, even if you have a high pen gun. And the enemy is outside of my spotting range, which is probably why I stopped at this location. The enemy is often outside of that spotting range. You park over here, high pen gun, you do damage. And this is not even a good gun. It's a moderate pen gun. This is up on that hill. I'm sure you're familiar with the hill is, and the point that I'm showing is that I have shots on tanks at the resupply area. You do have to be careful. You will get spotted here at some point. People will recon this area, for example. If you get recon, you're going to be spotted for like 20 or 30 seconds. You got to also remember that. There's a shot on that Carnarvon Action X. 531 meters. Looks like I'm auto-aimed on him. I thought that that's outside of the range. It says 531. Thought it was a max of 500. Okay, this is the hill with the resupply area on D. It's shown elsewhere in this video. You got a lot of bushes. It's easy to escape. This is a position that I've been playing a lot lately. Because, you know, I play a leadership role. Leadership means you do what your teammates don't want to do, what they're unwilling to do. That gives you some sort of an advantage. I don't take into account spotting and sniping. I say what is an advantageous position or positions that's necessary, and I don't care about prestige and all that other stuff. And that's why I play this position. You want one guy to control this area. You don't want the enemy to control this area. It's a very important hill in the game, and it will help my STA too. He can get into a better position if I control this area. Now this is the position that I was talking about earlier in this video. I actually now get closer to the rock, and I think from right here you can hit objective 5 on the slope right next to the rock. Here's another view. You can see that objective 5 was destroyed. I repositioned a little bit to get closer to that rock, and you can see that I still have shots on that objective. Here's another view. I am kind of within the trees. You'll notice that there's a lot of enemy tanks around me, and I have full health. And I've even got this T-44 behind me. So what I do is I rush to this position. Here's another example with this rock here, and you can see I'm shooting at objective 5, and the enemy controls a lot, and I'm at the foremost position on my team, and I am doing damage. Looks like I hit it 3 times, plus I got some spotting damage. In this case, I hit it twice. In this case, I hit it twice. I don't know why I'm showing this particular shot, but don't get close to number 5. There's no need to go to this position instead. So if you're coming this way, go here. The position here, you know, you just go, you follow these rocks on the lower part until you get to the end. It's a short drive. Look on the mini map. It's basically where this AMX, what is it, a 3449 is, and you just park right there and you're fine. This is me shooting at objective 3, and look at what's happening. It's green. The reticle is green, but when I go down, it's orange, and when I go over here, it's orange. If you watch my videos, there's one video where I talk about hitting the armor where it's closest to you. And the reason why is because you get the best penetration angle. Just by going down or to the left, it changes the angle. The further to the left you go, the worse of a penetration angle you get. And the further down you go, the worse of a penetration angle you get. So what you want to do, especially when you hit these flat, large surfaces, is don't hit down here, don't hit up here, but you want to hit basically up here. And I put the circle so the circle doesn't go past the edges, because the shot's going to land within the circle. If I do this, I'm guaranteed to hit that plate. Now this is what I was talking about earlier about being downhill and being able to hit the back of objective 3, and you can do it with your weak ammo. I ran out of my regular rounds. I don't know why I use APCR on this tank. You know, Frontline doesn't need APCR rounds for most tanks unless you're doing sniper support in certain positions where you got to hit that frontal armor. So HE rounds, and you shoot for these vents. What I should have done was switch to the HE. It's possible that I actually did. I also believe that it might be possible to hit it from further away. We're going to have to try that in the future. I'll report back to you. Here's a view of the position I'm in. This tank is absolute garbage. I may have already gotten rid of it, but I will tell you that when it's fully upgraded with the best gun, it's complete garbage. I miss shots all the time, even at close range. This is one of the worst aiming tanks that I've ever played in the game. It could be because of my 300 millisecond ping time. I really don't know, but I really don't like this tank. I put the gun laying drive, V-stab. I probably have BIA. I probably have vents. I probably have something like snapshot or smooth ride. The tank is complete garbage. This is another shot. Okay, I was telling you about getting close to that rock. This is the shot that shows you you've got clear shots, maybe even better. And notice that I allow that circle to be, it's about to reload, and that circle, I'm stunned right now. I line up my shot so that I maximize within the circle. I have to shoot it here. However, if you can aim closer, you want to be where the plate is closest to you. The plate is closest to you over here, but for penetration purposes, it would be a little bit more to the left here. You can see I hit that object 5 times. This is a great position. I highly recommend you learn it, and it's great for light tanks and fast medium tanks. Here's another view. You can see that that low, who I spotted and did spotting damage to, is unable to shoot at me. And if he wants to come after me, I've got allies backing me up. I was killed here by SPG. I don't know what game it was, but there was one game where I just suddenly exploded. Okay, so now look at the mini-map. The reason why this position is important is because you can cover the resupply, the bridge, the access to the objective 3, and people approaching objective 4. This is a key position. You might want to come further back here where these bushes are, or behind, or maybe these bushes over here. But this is a very good position to be in. Like I said, you want to play a leadership role. Don't worry about prestige and EXP and damage. You want to play to do what's best for your team. This is a key position. This is just a view of these buildings with Objective 5. We showed it earlier in the video. I'm intrigued about this position. Unfortunately, I the free camera ability to see if you can physically snipe it. I know you can do it from where this rock is. Not sure if you can do it from this house. We'll have to explore that later. Okay, now this is another player who's playing the game. I believe his name is Zan the Mountain Goat. It might be Xantheon or Xanadian. I apologize for not remembering the name. And look at where he's playing. You can snipe the resupply area at close range. You can spot. I've played this position before. He did an excellent job here. It's hull down. The problem is you're going to kill one of these tanks. He's going to respawn. He's going to come around and get behind you. And then you're in a crossfire. And I believe that that actually happened while he was playing this game. Now, this is another position by Zan the Mountain Goat. This is Cap E. Tanks loved to park behind this building where these rocks are. And this is where everyone drops artillery, and he found a sniping position where you can snipe on those tanks. Look at where he is on the mini-map, and he has an autoloader, which is the Lorraine 40T, so he can reset those tanks. So if you're resetting E, try this position. Okay, so that's it for the objectives. I have a lot of Frontline videos, instructional videos and tutorials on my YouTube account. This is what the page is probably going to look like. And that's me, obviously. And they are all clearly labeled. They'll say Frontline. And if you look at them, some of them are very good. Like you see this one says Frontline. Okay, that one's not that great. But you want to find those sniping videos. Look for the Frontline sniping videos like this one over here. It says sniping positions for Frontline. These are very, very, very informative. There is one that's not that good. It's probably this one because it only has 82 views. But most of them show in great detail all the sniping positions. And some of them look more like this, where I draw out on the mini-map where to sit your tank. But you want to watch this type of a video. I'm going to show you a little... always have clear shots against the tanks because there is a lot of obstruction on that ridge. Here's another view. There's a tree behind. This is the primary tree. What I did was I knocked the tree down because you always want to knock trees down in the air. Okay, so that's an example. That's not a good one.
Let's try to find another one. Here's another sniping position.
The greatest position. However,
so you're going to see all the sniping positions that I've been playing and my opinion of how good they are and how effective they were. You're not going to see any gameplay necessarily, but you're going to see all the positions, how to get there, and I'll explain the optimal way to play them.